Correct.
Hey everybody, it is TBI Tuesday.
Yes, welcome to TBI Tuesday. Oh gosh, what are you doing?
I was looking at Facebook, we're not on there yet, but I guess that's okay.
Oh. Well, was this was last time?
Yeah, that's last time. But we can continue, we're on YouTube right now, right?
Yes.
And we'll get something going with Facebook here.
Yep.
There we go. We're live.
Oh, yep. Nice. Yes.
Okay, so here we go. And today's topic is things not to say to someone with a brain injury.
Yep. Or we can be specific, a TBI.
A TBI, yes.
So.
And some of these things apply to people in different situations, like they may have found out they have cancer, or they may have just recently lost a loved one, or have a loved one who's sick, or going through some heavy stress or mental instability in their life.
Good news, you get a bonus time. It's not just for people with TBIs.
Right. So one of the first things is, you seem fine to me. Saying that to a person with a TBI.
Oh my gosh. Sorry, just to start off with this, but I'm like, this is one of the worst. But sorry, go ahead.
Well, and that's what a lot of the people have said that have a TBI, is it's not really a visible disability or deficit that you have. So a lot of times people don't think there's anything wrong and don't understand that, you have problems with fatigue or memory issues or concentration, depression, anxiety. None of that shows because they have nothing that they can see on you that looks like there's anything wrong.
Yeah, and I forgot where I read it, but it said there's like just having a scar.
I was going to mention that, yeah.
Sorry,
No, go ahead. Yeah, they said that a lot of people that do have a brain injury that have a visible scar feel more validated.
Yeah.
Because people can see it.
Yeah, and I'm like, that actually is a thing. I know it may sound weird or whatever, but I'm like, it's a thing. Because, yeah, it's the weirdest thing being like, well, and I'm getting over it. I'm working through it, I should say. But I'm like, I kind of, especially when the first year after my accident, I was still walking with a cane. And I'm like, and I still can't walk great, but I'm like, people probably think I'm weird. Like, well, I say, I sound like a baby. Like, nobody knows. Like, they're just like, this girl's kind of slow or gimpy or talks weird.
And a lot of that is you. Everybody struggles to be normal, but in a unique way. You still want to be yourself, but you want to appear normal. Yeah. And for you seemed fine to me.
Yeah.
Certainly you don't want to say it, but to me it also can be a way for the person that does not have the TBI to say, yes, you see all these things that are different about you, but really and truly you seem fine, and I mean that as a compliment. Yes, I know you have struggles with memory, anxiety, depression, insomnia, and a list of other things, but on the surface, where you get so tied up sometimes about people are going to judge me, or they're going to think this or that or whatever, you seem fine. You talk fine. You walk fine. Mm. So I would never say you seem fine.
Yeah.
what I did when we first met is I did research to see what it is you were going through and what you were dealing with. I found videos.
She did more research than I did, or she knew more than I. I'm like, wait, what?
Well, I wanted to understand where you were and where you had been and what you had gone through to get to where you were, so I could better support you and have a better understanding of what would and would not be the things to say to you.
Yeah. Hey, Paul, by the way, and you're right, yes, just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not there. True. And also, just side note here, I probably, well, I've said this a million times, my wife is amazing. I'm like, yeah, I was rolling up here in Peachtree City, Georgia. I'm like, I lived in San Francisco when I had my accident, and I'm like, oh yeah, I got it made. I am doing it. I feel like I'm finally starting my real job, and then I have this accident. Wham. So I didn't know what to do, but yeah, and then I roll up in Peachtree City, and I don't know anybody. Actually, well, I knew my sister and her husband and kids, and I knew Lindsay, but I mean, they were doing their thing, and I'm like, what am I want to make friends. What do I do? So, sorry.
No, that's fine. No, and a lot of times I think when people say you seem fine to me, although certainly the person who has gone through this traumatic, life-changing event would dearly love to have things back to as they were, I think as a loved one, they do as well. Correct. And by saying that, I think they're just trying to especially people that don't have a day-to-day contact with you and are not living with you and don't see some of the struggles that you face every day, it's just easier to think to themselves, and they may not verbalize it, but to say, oh, she's fine, she's good.
Yep.
And it's just a way of comfort for, I think, themselves.
Yeah.
When people say it.
Well,
doesn't make it right, but people, I mean, as traumatic as it was for you and how it 99% of impacted your life, it did have impact on other people's lives as well. Yeah. And they've got to work through their emotions and, how things, to get their heads wrapped around it. But ultimately, research is the best thing to do, I think.
Yep, it's true. And yeah, Paul, you're right. It is a culture change from San Francisco to Atlanta. I mean...
Oh, and we're not even Atlanta, so it's even worse.
Well, yes, because, yeah, we're outside, just south of the airport. So, Peachtree City, but, I mean, it's not San Francisco.
Right. And then another thing still going on with things not to say is maybe you're just not trying hard enough.
Oh, boy.
Have you ever had anyone say that?
Where should I start? Yes. And how should I say? Thankfully, this wasn't, people very close to me, but...
Stone Mountains area is nice.
I heard...
Stone Mountain's nice.
Oh, hey, good. Your ex had a house in Stone Mountain? Yeah. So I'm like, where is it? I don't know. She's the one that knows all the places around here.
Well, I've lived here all my life, so that helps.
Well, yes. So, but yeah, you're not trying hard enough.
Or some people think you've just gotten, okay, this traumatic thing has happened, kind of just given up, and then you kind of view them as just being lazy.
Yeah. Well, and that one, I will say, it was kind of from afar. I think I didn't hear it directly, so I'm glad. But yes, let you know that. It's like, I'm not just being lazy. I mean, hey,
well,
let you know. No.
Yeah, no, well, this is what I found out. It's not lazy. It's apathy. And that's a common disorder after a brain injury.
Really?
Yeah, it says you have a lack of interest or motivation or emotion, and it gets in the way sometimes. I mean, it's not there all the time, but it's not laziness. It's apathy, and it's caused by the brain injury. It's nothing you're choosing to do. It's not a choice you're making. I'm not going to do this. Your brain's telling you right now, I don't care. I'm not doing it. And
Well-
so the control's not there for you.
Yeah. Well, I will say that is something I'm more, well, how do I say? I'm trying to figure out how to balance this because I'm like, I do care about things and I'm glad because that means, well,
You're very passionate.
as much as the, what do you call it? The accident, my TBI messed me up. I'm like, you know what? I still got it ish. Something. But but I do realize that there are certain times when I need a good kick in the rear. And thankfully, my wife here is strong enough, but kind enough to help me with that process.
And that was one thing I was going to say as the loved one, or if you're in a caretaker situation, it's a fine line you have to walk between being a cheerleader, and you don't want to be a cheerleader to the point that you're putting expectations that are not achievable. It's got to be something realistic, but you've got to do it in a loving way, without being annoying and really keeping your patience in check and not losing your patience.
Man, I'm wanting to put her on blast because I'm like, oh, I can tell you some stuff. I'm like, and I'm trying to think, I met you, 2 years? It was 2 years after my accident?
Right.
Yeah, just a little over 2 years. But I'm like, oh boy, even just thinking that first bit, I was like, whoa, trying to go through all my stuff, and I was determined to get better and get back out to San Francisco and go. I couldn't even type or use my hands, couldn't even, talk correctly or walk, and oh gosh, yes, patience is very needed.
And another thing too I've noticed, and of course every brain injury is so vastly different, but sometimes I have the expectation of you doing a certain task, something I've not even verbalized. I'm just, in my head, it's my expectation. Or you may specifically voice one of something, hey, I want to get this done today. But then distractions come in.
Yes.
And that's, again, something you can't control. And again, it's part of your TBI. But I have noticed if I just say, hey, Aubrey, what about? And bam, you're right back on track again, and you get to it. So a lot of times it's just a simple reminder, knowing what the person has planned out to do, just a simple reminder in the day to help them out.
Yes, and that is true. And actually, talking about this, being a Virgo, my wife, she is very much detail-oriented, planning it out, schedule, and plenty of time, no last minute. And I'm Aquarius, I'm like, woo, check this out, which is funny because, side note, I thought we were so much alike. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, whoa, we're really different. But I'm happy because I feel bad for her because I'm like, you got to deal with all this.
You have to deal with me.
But
we have to
I'm
deal
like,
with each other. That's a marriage.
I always prayed for somebody who kept things clean and organized. I'm like, whoa.
But on the other hand, now you can't find stuff.
Well, I just asked you.
So yeah, I mean, it is definitely a two-way street, and I don't see where any of your issues with your TBI affect us. Hello, Nor. How are you?
Nor. Whoops. Sorry, I'm trying to find the. Yep. There we go.
Oh, you got it up there. Okay. No, I was just saying that none of your issues from your TBI, some of them I learned as we dated and then moved in together and then got married. Some of them have come to surface, throughout our relationship. But none of them are like life altering or so bad that, of course I'd
You're
never.
nice.
Well, no, I mean, you work very hard to maintain a good quality of life for us.
Well, what do you mean?
Well,
Now?
now, yeah.
Well, I tried, darn it.
Well, you do. And I know it's more difficult for you because of the injury. So it means that much more to see that.
Thank you, babe.
Yeah.
See, you helped me out. And that's why I do say, I'm like, I don't want you to do everything. I want to do stuff. However, it's going to be slower and may not be exactly how you like it.
And that's my struggle.
But
Because you can do anything you want to help.
maybe not the pace I want.
Well, I'm the hindrance there. And that's another thing. We can move right to it now. It's two different things. Let me do that for you is kind of what you're talking about right now.
Yeah.
And I'm bad about that. And it's not just you. It's with anybody. I've done it throughout my entire life. I can
You're a
still...
helper.
That, and I can hear my mom, she used to have us do stuff around the house when we were kids, and I could hear her saying, if I have to go behind you and do it, I would just as soon do it myself. And if you're going to do something, do it right. Well, I knew what right meant to Mom, and it was pretty strict parameters of getting something just right. So that's just... It's so ingrained in me that I want things done a certain way that I limit you on doing things here around the house. So that's my struggle, not yours. You're more than capable.
Well,
I just have to...
That's sweet, but yes,
It's
it is
true, though.
like a thing of how do you... Well, not just doing it, like... Give me some time to do it.
Well, just for an example, making up the bed. How many times have I been right there behind you, straightening out the covers? And does it really, in the grand scheme of things, matter?
Well, hey, babe, but the bedspread always looks bomb.
When I make up the bed, right? Is that what you're saying?
Even after I make it up, but you fix it.
Oh, but that's something I should not do. That's my struggle.
Well, if you want to call it a struggle.
We had a guy come to our house when I was a teenager that did yard work, wash cars and everything.
Yeah.
I would not let him wash my car.
Yeah.
Because
Why?
I knew he was not going to do it the way I wanted it done.
Really?
Was my way better or more correct than his? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
But I wanted it done my way.
Yeah. Well, and that matters.
Well, I don't know what he thought of it when I would say, "No, GW, you don't have to wash my car. I'll do it." What did that do to him? Oh, she didn't want me touching her car.
Well,
So
sure, he had many other things to do.
well, he did. We kept him busy, I guess. Okay, so other things not to say. You're such a grump. Anybody ever tell you were grumpy?
Wow.
Or check your attitude?
Yeah. Oh, hey there. So, sorry, I tried to press, there we go. Hey, that I'm such a grump.
Or irritable?
Well, and this is one of those cases where I think, how do you say? It affects people in different ways, we'll say that. I mean, thankfully, I've been pretty positive-ish.
Yes, you are the best cheerleader I've ever seen for anybody under any circumstance.
Really? Well,
I mean, like if I'm vacuuming, you are right there with your pom-poms cheering me on.
It's funny, the thing I did not want to be in high school, middle school.
Cheerleader?
Now I'm a cheerleader.
And that's pretty much the role you've taken. Because you do it in a good way. Irritability is one of the most common signs of a brain injury.
Really? Yeah, I could see that. So, yeah.
But it's biological. I mean, nobody wants to be grumpy, I don't think. Well, some people maybe do.
Yeah.
But I would think as a whole, most people don't. I know when I'm irritable. I know when I'm not in a good mood. I don't want to be there.
Right, yeah.
But I get sucked in, and a lot of times I'll tell you and Lucy both, not a good day for me.
Yeah.
Which just means I'm going to be quiet, I'm going to be sullen, and just leave me the hell alone.
Yeah, yeah.
And whatever it is. I hate it when I was diagnosed with cancer, and I know I don't know, maybe you get this with your TBI. There's still some uncertainty, will you get to this point or will you be able to do so and so? And with me, when I was diagnosed, it was, what is going to happen? What are my treatment options? Is this something I can survive? You know, Lucy was young at the time. And just having that weigh on your mind.
Yeah.
You know, just something that's constantly gnawing in the back of your mind can very easily, you could be going along, having a great day, and then just something hit. I know for me.
Yeah.
And that's just it. It knocks out the whole day for me.
Yeah. Well, I could go many ways with this, but I will kind of try to keep it concise-ish. So, I mean, I remember especially the first year after my accident, I was like trying to rush around like I had to learn how to code, I had to get better, I had to get back to my job, I had to do all this, you know, because it was the time frame. What is it? They have to hold your job for 3 months and then no. So it's like I got let go, and that was like a punch to the gut, really.
Right,
I'm like,
right.
But I was like, I need to get back. I need to get back. I want to get back. I want to get my independence back and do something, make life great. You know, and so, yeah, it was a big deal. Like, and then being like, crap, what am I going to do?
So as you're going through therapy and the doctors and the nurses and physical therapists are doing whatever they have to do, and you're working towards getting better, you're still thinking,
oh yeah, I'm thinking I need to type, you know, and on occupational therapy, obviously, that worked on hands, I'm like, I need to type. I had my computer back, like, in the second hospital. I'm like, but I didn't even know where the keys were anymore. I'm like,
on the keyboard?
yeah, I was a touch typist, and I was like, gone. Thankfully, a few days later, it came back, but still.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
But
Another thing not to say, how many times do I have to tell you?
oh my God. Oh, yeah.
This one I find to be interesting. Obviously, short-term memory is an issue.
Correct.
And it's common with a brain injury to have it. So, I mean, obviously we work on solutions, you know, where they have Post-it notes or things on our calendar, on our phones that'll pop up as a reminder. But for the person who lives with someone like me, it's not fair to me, for me to get upset when you don't remember something. You've got to remember, I've got to remember, if I ask you, did you do so-and-so, and you say no, my response can just be a visual response that you can see, an expression on my face that know that, oh my God, I am just not thrilled at the moment.
Yeah.
When it's not fair to you because you legitimately have a problem with short-term memory.
Yeah. Yeah.
But on the flip side, I can use that to my advantage.
Oh boy, huh?
Nothing bad, just fun stuff.
Fun.
Like go out and buy a car, and then the next day you're like, I'll say, Aubrey, remember we talked about it?
Yeah.
Stuff like that is fun.
No.
No? Okay. Another thing, though, on about how many times I have to tell you is, and I find this a lot, I know you have to repeat a lot for me because sometimes I don't hear as well.
Oh.
And I find myself repeating a lot to you.
Correct.
But I don't think yours is so much as a hearing problem, because I know I get frustrated and I'll say it again and I don't get a response, and then I say it the third time, and then that's when I can tell by my voice that I'm starting to lose my patience. And I've got to remember, and this can be for a lot of different people, it's not that you're not hearing me, it's a slower processing system for you to take all of what I'm saying, figure out my meaning, because I'm not always clear, and then you can respond. So you're asking for me to repeat is just a way of getting more time to understand what I'm saying.
I will say this, when you told me about this, I'm like, that's actually brilliant. I mean, I didn't even know I was doing that, but I'm like, whoa, that's totally it, because I did hear it, but yeah, as crazy as it is, and I try to think of that, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's totally true. I just need to take some time, and then I can answer. I'm like the whole being stupid. I didn't want to be stupid.
You're not stupid.
So, and I'm not stupid. I'm just maybe, what is it, a little bit slower.
And it's not you're slower. Your brain, it just is having to find different ways of getting information that used to just flow directly. It's having to find different pathways to get that information to you.
Yeah. Oh, and that's something I did, like, well, I have seen many times, is that when you have the accident, you still know all the things that happen. Like, I still know how to be a software engineer or know all that, but my injury was diffuse axonal injury, so it sheared the neurons in my brain, so the connections, so the data, the knowledge is still there. I just have to make new pathways. And
this is backwards.
oh yeah. What? Oh.
And this is something I wanted to talk on in another TBI Tuesday. Is it's not always an injury. I mean, it is always an injury to your brain, but there's so many different ways that injuries happen.
That is true.
And like you mentioned here, the surgery for your mom. So there's I mean, meningitis. I mean, there's just all kinds of ways that your brain can be injured.
Correct.
Other than just hitting your head.
Correct.
Or cracking
yes.
your skull. So that is something I want to touch on, one of our TBI Tuesdays.
Yeah.
Another thing never to say, and I can't imagine, I guess in the heat of a moment, or if you have someone who has a TBI that's very severe, I know from taking care of my stepdad and then my mom with dementia and then Lewy body dementia, how frustrating it is and how exhausting it is. But one thing I never said to them is, do you have any idea how much I do for you?
Yeah.
You never had that, I hope.
Thankfully, I did not. Because, how do you say? Well, I'm thankful I didn't, because my mother is definitely the caretaker, and then got you caretaker. But one thing, I tend to feel that, or I take that on. Not
you say that to yourself about.
Correct. So I say to myself, so want to separate that. Y'all are amazing, so nobody has said that to me, and I'm very thankful. But yes, I tend to beat myself up.
Well, then, and some people may not verbalize it so that you can hear it, but probably thinking to themselves, oh my God, I do everything. I know I thought that with Mom a lot of times.
Yeah.
And for you to feel that way from the patient's standpoint, I think the best way to, in my opinion, to work through it is to actually journal about your feelings.
Yeah.
Talk to people that have been in similar situations. Vent to them, vent to loved ones or friends, and get all that off of your chest and out of your mind so you can get back to life.
Yeah. And that is good. Now, I did have that when I was in my hometown of Fort Walton Beach, Florida, but unfortunately, I haven't found that here.
As far as like a forum or a group?
Yeah, just to talk to, because
I think a lot of people, I think for some people, and I could be completely off base and maybe should not even say this, someone who has recovered as far, like as greatly as you have, might not want to confront in a group setting their shortcomings.
Yeah.
Want to just like try to make that life is as normal as it's ever been.
Yeah.
And then on the other extreme, you have other people that it's difficult for them to communicate.
Yeah.
They just can't get the words out.
Yeah.
which is really, but now with, I mean, with the internet and online chats and everything and forums, you don't know who's behind the camera, and you can't see the person. So if you can't talk, or you struggle to talk, or you struggle with your thoughts, and, it's just like a lot of times I prefer texting because I can think better about what I'm going to say.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm better with written words than I am with verbalizing words. So it's easier. Yeah, if start one.
Yeah.
Just start one.
See, that's good. Oh, and by the way, that's why I always keep a pen right here so I can write stuff down. So now that we have an idea, I need to.
Yeah. If you can't find the help, be the help.
Okay.
Right?
Yep, that is true.
We had that put on T-shirts.
I was about to say we can do that. If you can't find help, be the help.
You've never had anybody say anything to you about the medications that you take, right? Since the ones that have been prescribed to you since your accident.
Well, I had to get some changed.
Right. And that's why I wanted to touch on this. It's because it's such a good idea. I did it with. I'm fortunate. I only take one type of pill a day.
Yeah.
Mom was on a slew of medicines, and every time we went to the doctor's office, he would change a dosage, which would mean going back home and getting all her little weekly pill things and pulling out what we didn't need any longer, putting in the new thing. But it's good. Yeah, see, Nora, I'm the same way. I would much rather text. I do not get on the phone if I can help it. I mean, I will. I love talking with you, so don't take that the wrong way. But then we can see each other when we talk, so that's a big plus. But back to the medicines. It's just a good idea. I kept a list. I had an app for Mom. I kept a list of all the medicines she took, all the dosages for those medicines. And if I ever saw a change, just like you've seen changes with yourself, consult with your doctor. Talk to them and say, this one doesn't seem to be doing, or this is what I'm feeling. Is there something that I could take for that, or is there something else I can do for that? So always communicate with your doctor when it comes to your medicines. It's very important.
That is true.
Another one, I think people say this to anybody going through any sort of a hardship, is try and think positively. Just be positive. Think about what could have happened.
Yeah. Did you say the Lucky to Be Alive one yet?
Is that coming up now? Oh, that's coming up.
Oh. But yeah, think positively. I've had that so many times. Like, oh, think positive. This is great.
One thing, I'm sorry, but one thing I did read, which I was not aware of course, it's, you give advice, whatever kind of advice you give. It's so easy to give it.
Yeah.
That's easy. It's implementing it, if you have to be the one to implement it, if it's good advice. But one thing I read about people that have suffered a brain injury is they suffer with rumination, which is just repetitive negative thinking.
Yeah.
And it's very common.
Correct. Yeah.
So thankfully, medicines for anxiety or depression can help with that.
Yeah.
But I had no idea that it becomes a cycle.
Yeah.
Negative begets negative, and it just cycles through.
Yeah. And forgot who it was, but yeah, they worked with me on that because they're like, okay, you got to break out of this,
And telling someone be positive is the same as telling someone to calm down. Never has anyone calmed down when you just say, calm down. Or steps or situations that have to be changed in order to either be positive, think positively. So it's just take whatever it is that the negative thought is and discuss it with a friend or your doctor or, your spouse. And try to work on it together to try to break the cycle.
Right. Like Paul says, yeah.
Advice is cheap. It is. And it's easy to give.
Yep.
Very easy to give.
That is very true.
I'm really good at that. I'm not good at following it.
I was about to say, I think we're all good
Yeah,
at giving advice.
right. And the last one is my absolute favorite. And I think it's yours too.
Mine too.
Yes.
Oopsie.
You're lucky to be alive.
In that, I learned to say, yes, you're right.
You hear it a lot. Right?
Oh my God. All the time. And I'm like, I mean, I am very thankful to be where I'm at. But guess what? I'm not how I was. I'm not all better. I'm not just, oh, I'm back. Like, well, we can go on a tangent ish here. I'll try to rein it in. There's a guy who came in, Mike, and he had
a brain injury.
He had a brain injury, yes. Sorry. He was at a first year college or football team, and he went to some party, and basically, yeah, some people jumped him and beating him up, putting his head in the street, like, bad. And I don't know if he ever really came out of his coma. Like, it's terrible. So I'm like, dude, why is he there and I'm here? Like,
It's not luck.
but yeah, the whole luck
It's just
thing.
shit happens.
Correct.
That's all there is to it. People with brain injuries are 6 times more often to have suicidal thoughts
Yep.
than others.
Yeah. So and that's another funny. Funny's not the right word, but they said pretty much when anybody comes in with a head injury to the hospital, automatically put them on antidepressants.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, from what I was reading, they suggested instead of saying you're lucky to be alive, tell them how awesome they are. And when you read these notes, I was telling you right after I met you, before we got into any sort of relationship other than just, even at that point, it's a stretch to call it a friendship at that point because it was so new. Mm-hmm. But I remember telling your story to friends of mine, to my mom, to her friends, and always with, she is awesome. What she has gone through, where she has gotten to in her life, the effort that you put in for your recovery. I mean, how you wouldn't tell anybody that's gone through such a life-changing event and come out, I don't care how they come out, they have made strides if they've survived.
Yeah.
And that certainly makes that person awesome. And going back to the luck, did you put Nora's up?
Oh, I should have said. Here we go. So
Yeah.
all my doctors told me the same sentence. Need to hear it. Like,
Right, yeah. Yeah, just, repetition to keep that. And I tell Aubrey all the time. I mean, I had a neon sign made for Aubrey that hangs in our den as a reminder to Aubrey every single day. And I don't even know, can we say the word?
Well, effing.
Effing awesome.
Yeah.
So it's in bright green, big neon letters in our den.
Yep.
You can see it from the street where we live.
Yep.
Yeah, we've had FedEx drivers and everything. Oh my God, I love your sign.
Yep.
But I want Aubrey to know you're awesome.
Yeah.
Flat out. What you've accomplished and what you've done is just awesome.
And I'm just blown away. But I'm like, yeah, I need that reminder for me every day.
Well, you've got it.
Yeah, well, thank you.
And another thing, when, what was it, 2 weeks ago? Oh, you want to put his up?
Yeah. I was going to say,
oh, wow.
Diagnosed with HIV in 1985, and I still get you're lucky to be alive still. Yeah. Suffer from survivor most. Dude, I'm right there with you.
Yeah, that is.
That comment doesn't help. It's very, very
right, because then it's like, well, why me? Why am I any better? And that someone had mentioned that 2 weeks ago for the anniversary of 9/11. A woman was telling a story where her mother was supposed to be in the towers, and they thought she was, but she actually had a meeting somewhere else in New York and had failed to tell her family. Yeah. So she was not there when it happened. So she survived. all her coworkers died, but she survived, and everybody was like, "You are so lucky."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Why? Why do you call it luck? Why would God bless me to live, yet have all those thousands of people die?"
Yeah.
And it's just how things happen. I don't think there's a power above. I mean, I think there's a power above. Don't want to get that misconstrued. I believe in God. And I think she's wonderful. But I think what happens here is just shit that happens. Yeah. She's not up there saying, "You're dying today in a horrible accident and your best friend's going to be in the car. You're driving and, by the way, you're drunk, but you're going to survive, but your best friend's going to die." That I don't think happening.
Correct, yeah.
Things just happen.
Yeah.
Random.
Yeah, exactly. And
nature is random.
Talk about, like, your brother, and
he was diagnosed with AIDS in 94. And died in October of 94 and died in August of 95. His partner was diagnosed HIV positive not long after Tommy died. And it was just, and he's still alive because there was a change in the way they dispensed the medication.
Yep.
Tyler started off taking the exact same meds that Tommy was taking, but in a different way. And he's able to live. That doesn't make Tyler lucky. It just means science advanced.
Correct.
Plain and simple.
Yeah. And yeah, it's not, the luck. Oh, he's lucky, but you're, no.
Yeah, and people do lucky or they do God blessed you.
Yeah, yeah.
And I believe in God, but I don't believe God picks and chooses who and how somebody is going to die. Things happen.
Yeah, well, I definitely believe that things happen because, everybody trying to tell me, "I've got something for you, this, that, that." I'm like, wait a second, okay? Why did I live? I'm thankful, but Mike lived, but not.
He's pretty much a vegetable, right?
Correct.
Vegetative state?
Yeah, so, he's in vegetative state.
So he's not living.
Correct.
Right.
So,
it's...
what is the difference,
But going back to all this about what not to say, I've seen people, a comedian, I forgot the whole conversation, but this person said something that was really offensive. And the comedian's like, "You had this thought, your brain processed this thought, your brain brought it out, and still you said it." So basically what I'm coming to is think before you talk. What is the acronym for think? Is it true?
Oh, yeah.
Is it hurtful? Is it necessary? Is it kind? And then there's that I in there. I forgot what the I stands for.
Inspirational?
Maybe. It should be.
But
just think before you talk to anybody about anything, because words hold so much power. And a simple sentence or a simple comment, it can completely change somebody's life for the better or the worst.
Yeah.
So it all comes back to being kind.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
That is true. Sorry, Paul. I know.
Is it us?
We may be having some issues working on that.
Uh-oh.
So, hopefully.
We're still new to this, is my excuse.
We could say that, yep. We don't know what we're doing.
So, any final thoughts? And if anybody has any recommendations for anything we should talk about in following Tuesdays, we're always open for that.
Correct. Definitely. Let us know.
Right.
That'd be great. And I am so happy to have my wife here on this stream because, that was the thing. I'm like, off on how, I'm like, they said this to me and this and what, and, but having someone else on the other side-ish, to talk about it, I think means a lot.
Well,
validates.
Right. Yeah. I think you needed to see. I needed to see. I hear your discussions, and it helps me to understand more and more. But then you see the impact it has on me, or doesn't have on me. And if there's not a discussion about it, then nobody, you only see things through your eyes unless you're talking with others to find out how they're perceiving and how they're feeling about something.
Correct. Yeah. Yep.
So that's it.
Yep.
We can wrap it.
Yes, that's it.
What do you want to wrap?
What? Wrap up a burrito.
Ooh.
Yep.
Taco Tuesday.
Oh, we could have Taco Tuesday on TB. See, I'm all confused. TBI Tuesday with Taco Tuesday. Got it all.
Tequila Taco Tuesday.
Oh, gosh, now we're getting crazy.
Oh, okay.
All right. Well, thanks so much for tuning in. Please let us know what you'd like us to talk about in the future. And above all, remember, you matter. Your story matters. And you belong here. Cheers.
Have a good one.